Hi, I'm Keith Mabbott, and on behalf of the Street Soccer Foundation, I had the great pleasure to sit with Ben Sadler of Alive and Kicking on today's Street Soccer United podcast show. He is a fantastic young man, a real inspiration to me. And what a guy, at just such a young early age at 21. He was there jumping on a plane to America. We'll find out all about why he did that and his sort of previous background in terms of leading up to where he'd got to that point and why he wanted to go out to America and what he was going to be doing. But Alive and Kicking, what an organisation, fantastic supporter of street soccer. Likewise, we are of them. And I love Ben's model. He kind of made it clear they've got like a make, play, live, three sort of pronged model within the organisation in how they perceive the value and strength and power of the football. You know, they make footballs from well, they provide them all over the world, but they have balls made. They provide kind of employability, sustainable employability to families out in Africa. And these footballs, leather footballs, are so unique in their design, hand-stitched, handmade, and distributed all over the world. We've been a proud, recipient of these footballs as well. Most recently delivered them into our summer camps program in Kent. But you'll hear from Ben, his background. He admitted himself that, he was quite quiet as a guy growing up. He lacked a bit of confidence, but he found confidence and made friends through his passion for football. He was a real, a sort of real player, a goalkeeper. In fact, he said to me, and, he really wanted to make it as a footballer, but that's what really enabled him to create friendships. And I guess, football did the talking for him. So a really good chat with him, but, he went on to sort of give a whistle-stop tour, of his career history and how he kind of moved from the kind of third sector into the corporate sector. He joined a big bank in a corporate social responsibility role, but then went back to Alive and Kicking, and now is their CEO driving the business forward. So it's a really good chat, really, fantastic insight into what really makes the CEO of a wonderful organization like Alive and Kicking tick. So do give it a watch. Hope you really enjoy it. So hi guys, brilliant to be here again on our latest Street Soccer United podcast. I'm Keith Mabbott, I'm the CEO founder of the Street Soccer Foundation, and I'm really delighted to have on with me today the CEO of Alive and Kicking, Ben Sadler. Ben's a fantastic guy, brilliant supporter of our work, and likewise we are of his organisation, and we're going to get to learn a bit more about Ben and his background and obviously why he sort of jumped on board with Alive and Kicking and now how he leads the organisation going forward. But Ben, it's really good to have you on board. If you don't mind, obviously just giving a little bit brief introduction to yourself. I know I've sort of planted it there nicely for you, but thanks for joining the call. And obviously the purpose of this is to educate our audience about what you're about as an individual, as well as what you represent organisation wise. But over to you, my good man. It's good to see you.
Really good to see you. Yeah, and thank you for having me, Keith. Really appreciate it. Yeah, as a brief intro, I guess I would best describe myself as a pretty poor goalkeeper. Yeah, conceded many goals in my time. I'm from Newcastle, although my accent is pretty much gone because I've spent too much time outside of Newcastle, which is a shame. I'm a Newcastle fan as well, which I mean every fan goes through periods of pain, so I'm not going to kind of ask for sympathy, but yeah, it's been quite painful over the last few years. Yeah, basically, so I'm a Geordie goalkeeper who was very lucky to work for an organisation called Alive and Kicking.
Absolutely amazing. Now you've said that, I wish I'd come up against you when I was playing work back in the day, because it probably would have helped my career putting a few past you. But I've got to say though, I mean, the hierarchy at Newcastle United, I'm going to dive straight on today if you don't mind. I mean, are you a fan, mate? I mean, obviously as a Newcastle fan.
Not really. No, I think I don't have anything against Steve Bruce or anything. I think of course he would take the job, he's a Newcastle fan and things. I think it's just what I find hardest is just the lack of. I mean, it kind of links into what we do as organisations, kind of thinking about growth, thinking about what next, thinking about strategy, and it just feels like there isn't anything there. It's just like there was a recent interview which was all about, we're just here to exist. I just want to make sure that we exist, and it's like, well, that's just, there's no ambition, there's no excitement, there's no growth, and it's like, and it's the same with us as organisations. You guys have done brilliantly to grow and always thinking about the future, and that makes you get excited about things. And at the moment, Newcastle. I've supported Newcastle my whole life. I had a season ticket when I was a kid. I was very lucky to grow up on the terraces, but I genuinely don't have have very little care for them, which is horrible because I love football.
Yeah. It's painful to hear something like that. You know, when obviously you are clearly so passionate about the sport and the game, and I guess that's a nice sort of segue into like the first sort of questions. I mean, what we try and do with these interviews is kind of take you back a little bit, you know, to your upbringing and kind of like, you know, how you know, maybe your sort of school life was, your education life, you know, your initial years, the relationships around you, you know, how you developed as an individual and that kind of thing. So obviously you mentioned massive football fan and Newcastle fan. You was on the terraces, you know, growing up. Obviously, was that a big thing for you in your life early on? You know, football was a big thing that you looked forward to every weekend, and was that the kind of makeup of your upbringing?
Absolutely, and I think, to be honest, football will be, as I kind of, I guess, talked earlier, you'll notice football is kind of a continuing theme and has been so important both as a player but just outside of it as well. So I grew up in kind of the centre of Newcastle, quite close. You could see the stadium actually from where I grew up. And my parents were not big football fans, not really big sport fans really, but they moved to Newcastle, and I had an older brother who got right into it, and then I just, you know, used to go out with him all the time, and he would just shoot. Yeah, he would shoot me all the time on that. There was no church wall, boarded up entrance that just made the perfect goal. So he just put me in there, and I would just dive around on the concrete. And then school-wise, I'll be honest, I was very quiet right the way through it, but I always played sport and I always played football, and was lucky to be on like football teams and things. So that's how I made friends really. Like, and I think that's, like I say, it's kind of continued. Like football has always been a part of life and very lucky to be part of my career now as well. But yeah. It's kind of both primary school and secondary school. Wasn't great academically, but played a lot of football, and that just helped, I think, socially and getting me through school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did you always kind of know what you wanted to do early on, Ben, at the beginning of your career, as it were? Like, you know, when you was going through school and obviously loving your football and making new friends through that. But when it comes to the crunch of kind of leaving school and whether, I mean, did you go into college or university? I think you went to Leeds, didn't you? Like university. So I mean, you said you're not really that way inclined academically, but you still got into university. So you obviously had something about you. Was that always an intended plan that you had aspirationally wise?
Yeah, not really. I think I certainly didn't know what I wanted to do. And I certainly, like, if anyone's watching this, I wouldn't put pressure on yourself. Like growing up, like you don't need to know what you want to do. You know, even at this age or older, it doesn't matter really. I think because, you know, opportunities come. I'd say with university, to be honest, I didn't get the grades that I needed to get into university for the course I wanted to do. So I looked at some of the courses, and I think at the time I wanted to just try going away from home. So I chose a course that I was interested in. It was environment and transport.
Just say interesting in that sentence. Come on.
There's loads of stuff, you know, like traffic lights and did stuff. I remember doing stuff about soil. But I enjoyed the university experience and coming back to football. So I think going through university, I was aware that I wasn't going to work in the environmental field, and I was just loving playing football, and I was very aware that football was becoming increasingly important just as a development for myself out, like socially, and you know, it was where I had a lot of friends. It was where I was building confidence. It was where I felt the most comfortable. So I started to do my coaching badges on the side. So I was at Leeds Uni, and I would get a train on like a Wednesday evening when all my mates were going out, and I would get a train to Skipton and go and do my FA badges. And then started to do a lot of volunteer coaching. So I did a bit of coaching at uni whilst playing for uni, and then came back to Newcastle after uni, pretty clear that I wanted to do a bit of traveling and use coaching as the way to do it. I applied for some jobs, and I got a job in the States, and I lived in the States for 2.5 years coaching soccer.
Yeah, that was the mate. You was in Major League Soccer, weren't you? That you actually joined. Yeah, I saw that on your profile. I mean, I just want to just ask you a quick question though on what you just said there. That you mentioned volunteering in terms of coaching, and some of the young people that we support through the foundation as a kind of next step, we kind of call it like a sort of pathway progression. Volunteering is clearly an option for a lot of people, and I just wondered from your point of view. I know potentially maybe it's a bit biased because obviously you did do that and it's obviously worked for you, but generally speaking, Ben, would you kind of advocate for volunteering if someone's at a sort of starting point with no kind of career experience? Is that an option, a valid option to get going in a field that they want to move into?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I think it gives you. I mean, for your own development, it's brilliant. You know, building up confidence and skills and knowledge in that area. You know, organisations within that sector will certainly look look well upon it if you're volunteering. I think personally, just from a personal development thing, that's the most important part of it. And I think as part of that, I'd also say sometimes you're volunteering without even realizing it. And often I'll speak to people and I'm like, what are your kind of your skills, your things that you can take to a job, or what's your experience? And they say, oh, I haven't got anything. And then you get chatting to them. They're like, oh, hang on a sec. You've been like helping this football team. You've been playing, and perhaps like you've been helping in on the Saturday morning, sort out the pitch. And I'm like, that's like you volunteering and getting involved. That's valued experience. And you should talk about that and boast about it. So I would definitely advocate for volunteering for sure.
Well, I totally agree with you, and I think it's one of the best ways to learn about a sector. By putting yourself about, you make then an informed decision about your future pathway, and if it is right or relevant for you, what better way to do it through experience. And I think some people look at it as kind of, why should I work for nothing kind of thing, for free. But it isn't. It's not really that. It's an amazing way to network and create new contacts and learn the industry before then you commit to an industry, and then 2-3 years down the line you think, well, this is boring or not for me kind of thing. You've lost that time, you can't get back. So I mean, I'm massive about it. But in addition to that, what I found interesting with what you've already touched upon is, I mean, you must have been still at a very young age when you took that sort of plane out to America. I mean, what was that? I mean, was it literally like, were you 21 sort of thing, coming out of Leeds University? Was that sort of the age that you were when you went out to Major League?
Yeah. So I was 21.
That's massive, Ben. For a 21-year-old, I mean, you're not that old now, I know, but like that's a big deal for a lot of people. At 21 to get out and get on a plane out to America. I mean, I'm assuming you didn't really have much sort of many contacts out there, many people that you knew out there, and you just went for it.
No, not at all. And I think that's where I guess family influence comes in, because again, like even at university, kind of the continuing theme of school, I was still very quiet in, not so much in my own social groups, but in the academic situation, I was quite quiet and wouldn't push myself to get involved too much. But it was sport where I felt most open. I think, and it was my family my brother in particular, who'd been actually done something similar. He'd done like Camp America, where you go across for the summer, and he really encouraged me. And I was always like, I'm not sure. And he was like, look, just give it a go. And I think if it had been if I'd been going across to the States to do, I don't know, just another kind of role, which wasn't necessarily sport based, I probably wouldn't have done it. But I think, having done my coaching badges, having done the volunteering, I felt most confident on a football pitch with a ball under my arm, chatting to a group of players. Like that's when I felt really comfortable. So I think the fact I was it wasn't about going to the States, it was about going to do football coaching in the States. So I felt more comfortable like that. But I remember going to the airport and like questioning whether I was going to get on the plane or not.
Yeah.
But certainly happy that I did.
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think, again, like what you're saying there, I mean, because you've also, like you mentioned when you was at university, the fact that you were kind of investing in yourself to get out over to Skipton, to do that kind of thing. I mean, funny enough, for what it's worth, I actually know Skipton of all the places. Yeah. It's quite random, but I know that quite well. But again, it's that investment, what you're talking about in yourself and your own sort of self-belief in what you want to do and why you want to do it. And again, I think, that's what we try to convey with the teachings of our academy program, that kind of thing, that if you can answer your why statement, that's so powerful, because then it gives you such an impetus to go and kind of execute on your learnings, and do something about it rather than just learn for knowledge, as it were, just take stuff in and not really do anything about it. If you really are passionate about something, then you take on those learnings to kind of help and assist you in that development. You're actually going to go after it. And I think you're a case in point there. You've invested in yourself, built up your badging, got the opportunity there at 21, and there you are, you're on a plane out to America. So it's a great story already at such a young age. And obviously going out to America, were you there obviously I've done a bit of research, but you were there for about 3 years, was it roughly? And then before you made your next move. And I know you ended up going over to Africa, didn't you? Like for this Tackle Africa project that, I mean, was that in your game plan? I mean, were you aware of that going on, or did you suddenly come across it? And how the hell did it happen, Ben? And how did you get over there, and why did you do it? What was all going on there at that time?
Well, that's it. I think it goes back to like, do you know what you want to do? And it certainly wasn't in my game plan. At that point, it was, I want to be a professional football coach. And I loved it out in the States, and kind of getting to coach teams. And I mean, you'll know it yourself, like when you're working with a team, there's nothing better than seeing them progress over time. But actually so as part of the company I work for, they were running an academy in the Dominican Republic. So I went out to work on this academy for what was about 3-4 months in the end. And whilst we were there was one of the kind of the local members of staff was like, look, I run this project with homeless kids on a Saturday. We'd love to bring you down and do some coaching. So I went down and did some coaching, really enjoyed it. And then one of the conversations was about that these young people don't have access to any services. And it came out that actually there were lots of services available, but they were never kind of connected. So we were like, why don't we bring the two together? So on a Saturday when we play football, we can bring down some services that can talk about what they offer. And that's when it started to click around, like, football is brilliant. It's brilliant as a game and technically and all that, and it is brilliant. But it's like kind of, it goes way beyond that. And that's when I started to think more about, okay, what is my next move? Do I want to go into football coaching professionally if there's an opportunity there, or do I want to maybe think more about the social impact side of what sports and football can do? So then I started to do some research, and I actually came home and I worked for Sunderland for a while as a Newcastle fan, which is great.
Yeah, lead balloon stuff, that is.
what you could kind of say is, obviously they're not in the greatest position now, so you could say that I purposely coached terribly to make sure that long term they would get. No, but obviously I didn't do that. But so I was there for a few months, and they were very supportive actually. And I kind of said to them, look, I'm interested in doing something that would be great to work with you for now. And then an opportunity came up to volunteer. So another volunteering opportunity with a charity called Tackle Africa, who were delivering health education through football coaching in a number of African countries. And I just thought, why not? So I went out for 2 weeks. Again, kind of similar attitude to going to America for the first time. It's like, okay, this is football, this is okay. Yeah. Went out for 2 weeks. And then, it was just thought they offered me a job after the volunteering and asked me to go to Zambia, which was just brilliant. Like, it was talking about kind of they were very honest. They were like, look, we're trying to set up there. We've done some stuff in the past, but there's no real partners. We're not really sure what we're going to do. We don't know where you're going to live, but here's the plane ticket. And I was like, okay, all right. So went out there and was there for 2 years, and then in Kenya as well.
Man, this is unbelievable. Yeah. Honestly. I mean, what did you like? Did you like, at the time, I mean, like your family and friends and loved ones and that? What did they think about all this? I mean, this is major stuff. The way you're describing is quite hilarious for me. I don't know about anyone that will end up watching it, but just that you're so kind of blasé about the fact that here's a ticket, go to Zambia for a couple of years. Yeah. I mean, it's just like, hold on a second, it's not around the corner, is it? Like,
yeah, no, it's funny, isn't it? I think me growing up as a kid, like my parents have said, out of the 3 kids, so I have 2 brothers. And they were like, you were the person they least expected to do that. I didn't really, to be honest, I didn't really speak until I was about 18 outside of my mates. And I keep talking about football, but like that's always been the driver for building confidence. And that's what got me out there. And I think, and again, it comes back to just like random opportunities and volunteering. And I was doing some stuff in Newcastle when I just moved back from uni before going out to the States. And I was doing a bit of volunteering. And there was a couple who, one of them was studying at Newcastle University, and his wife, Musama, was doing some volunteering with me. And she was from Zambia. And she said, if you ever come to Zambia, you can come and live with us. And I was like, oh, brilliant, thanks so much. I'll never come to Zambia, but thank you. And then like 4 years later, I was like, oh, hey, I'm moving to Zambia. Can I come and live with you for a bit? So they were brilliant. I lived with their family for 3 months and then eventually found my own place. But that certainly helped, because having them there, they were amazing and helping me settle. But
that's so incredible. I mean, I just really wondered it. I'm not going to get all full on with you, but I wonder if that at that point you'd already put it out there. These people sort of say that you put it out to the universe, and the vibrations of that stuff, and it resonates, and suddenly the paths collide, and it's amazing how things sometimes come to fruition through previous kind of exchanges and meetings with people. And but you've got to have that internal drive to want to follow your dreams and passion, haven't you? I guess what you're talking about there. So you can be presented with opportunities. You can quite easily have just said, no, that's ridiculous. That's miles away. I'm not going to do that sort of thing. And you've never had the experience, but obviously you did. What then? Sort of moving from then, I picked up on that you ultimately did come back though, didn't you? But then you went into like the corporate world, like all of a sudden. And I say all of a sudden because I honestly, when I first kind of came across you, with your history now, I was a bit surprised, in terms of where you'd been going and what you've been doing. And then all of a sudden plonks like, a big blue chip organization out of nowhere. No disrespect to the organization at all. But how did it come about? I mean, obviously you touched upon, you started to do some research around social, impact and that kind of thing. And I guess it's tied into the role that you clearly had with the bank. But would you mind sort of saying how that came about and why you took the opportunity and what you got out of it?
Yeah. So I came back to the UK and continued to work in the charity sector. I actually moved away from sport. I don't know, not necessarily purposely. I think it was more at the time there wasn't a lot of opportunities in sport, but I kind of was in a similar role, but within a financial education charity for quite a while, where instead of training football coaches, I was helping train teachers, but about financial education instead of health. So I always thought it was quite similar. And then I moved back into the sport sector with a great London-based sports charity. And it was, whilst I was there, they had a program that was funded by a corporate bank, and I was managing it. And so I was spending a lot of time in the bank. And they, after a certain amount of time, I was at the charity for a while, and they said, look, we'd love to bring you on board at the bank to look after some of our corporate social responsibility programs. And I thought about it for a long time. I spoke to a lot of people, if I'm honest, because I wasn't sure about having always worked in this sector. And the kind of feedback was, look, it's quite an interesting opportunity to see from from the opposite point of view. So from a funder's point of view, I've always kind of been from the organisation delivering, so to look at what funders think about organisations and how they work. So yeah, it was definitely, I don't know if I would go back into that world, but I did enjoy it. I met a lot of interesting people and I learned a lot. And I certainly think that I wouldn't be here now if I hadn't tested that out. Yeah, I think so. I think I just learned a lot about so many different, like communication styles and management and kind of back end and like policies and procedures. And there's definitely lots of stuff that I've brought into this role. So yeah, kind of on that. So don't be afraid to switch completely.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a link because it was still kind of charity link because it was the charity, but it was from a completely different angle. I think that just made me see things differently.
Well, that exactly. Well, that you just jumped ahead with my next question. That kind of perception piece. Did you see that kind of quite quickly early on, Ben? Like from your experience up to that point, going into that corporate side, even though it was like what you just touched upon, like that sort of social good value kind of role, being head of CSR, whatever, were they completely poles apart in terms of cold-faced stuff and doing that kind of charitable work and endeavour to then want to support that, but from a corporate point of view, were they just completely different perceptions, and was that very difficult for you to kind of manage and move through?
So that's like not like completely different. I think there's like no, actually maybe there are quite a big different perceptions. I think particularly around like impact and the way that things are delivered. So like if you're talking to a funder, you might have what you think success is, but actually their success is very different. And whether that's right or wrong, that's why I think it's more important than ever now that like funders and delivery organisations work together to kind of I don't think we as Street Soccer Foundation shouldn't change their mission because a funder's like, here's loads of money, like do it like we want. So I think there's definitely more of that needed. And I think there was certainly gaps in the work that we did where like the bank had ideas about how impact should be measured, what success was, how a program should be delivered. The delivery organisation had their own ideas, and sometimes there was a bit of a clash. So I think that was interesting and certainly helped me work out how there's better ways of collaborating.
Yeah. Between
different organisations, and it's understandable that we all have different, because they're very different organisations, very different objectives overall.
Absolutely. And do you think have you come across more sort of? It seems to be more recent, and I was really hoping I could get through this without mentioning the dreaded pandemic, but I've fallen foul of it now because I've just there it is. But do you think partly to do with the pandemic, or maybe even not, but have you come across this seemingly more kind of invested view towards organisations that are more kind of corporate blue chip, having this kind of purpose over profit agenda? That seems to have come to the table more for me. Well, from my own experience and conversations that I've had, then there's more inclination to open a conversation with a charitable endeavour that will maybe engage their workforce in some way to help retain talent, to create maybe opportunities for mentoring, or to give back for talking to the groups that are being supported, or volunteering like we talked about before. Do you think that's fair, and have you come across the same sort of thing, and why do you think it matters more so arguably to organisations now than it did previously?
100%. I think there's so much more appetite for it, and I think one thing we're seeing more of, which I think is a good thing, is that a lot of corporates they've got more of a strategy around their giving and around their charity. So like, in the past, it might be something, we can do this, we can do that. Whereas, talking to the bank I used to work for, they had a very tight strategy, which I thought was very good. Like, there was particular organisations and particular things that they did. And you hit the nail on the head when you mentioned like talent. Like, I think generations coming in out to work, like they look at that as an organisation. It's not just about how much you get paid. It's about what is the organisation doing to support whether it's local communities or larger things that link into their business. And I think if you're setting up an organisation now, you'd be silly not to have some kind of social impact element. I think it's just being sure that it's genuine, because there certainly are organisations out there that they might plant a tree for every product you buy or something. You're like, okay, is that maybe there needs to be a bit more substance to it. So, but you're spot on. Like, I think organizations now are really starting to think about it and think how it fits into their own business for sure. So, and that's good to see. Yeah.
Well, I'm pleased you said that, but you're making me smile because you won't know this at all, and not many people know this, but I'm going to drop it. But when you said about plant a tree, a few years ago, Ben, I came up with an idea for tree shirt, and like as in t-shirt, tree shirt, and it was basically buy a tin to plant a tree. But I never did anything with it. I mean, literally, it came out with that. It was one of them. I don't know about you, but I came up with so many ideas back in the day, and my wife, it did my wife's head in. That it's literally, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, write some ideas down, and go back to sleep again, and buy domains left, right, and centre. And one of them was this tree shirt thing. But anyway, joking aside, it's great what you've just said about. So moving to like sort of current now, where you are with Alive and Kicking. I mean, you know, I love the work that you do, and you know, I'm a massive supporter of the work that you do, and any opportunity where it's relevant and purposeful around where we might be able to engage with you, we try and do it to, you know, to secure some footballs and things for the projects that we're running. And, you know, and I'm grateful that it's reciprocal from your point of view, that, you know, you support our work. But Alive and Kicking, from your point of view as a CEO, you know, what does it stand for? What does it do? How does it do it? And kind of what does it look like going forward for you? And I'd love to have, you know, the audience be educated if they're not already aware, which they should be, frankly. But, you know, Alive and Kicking, what is it from your point of view?
Yeah, so I guess the best. To be honest, it's taken me a while to work out the best ways to talk about what Alive and Kicking do. I think we've kind of settled the footballs behind me. That like we make sure that a sports ball makes a positive impact throughout its lifetime. So right from the way it's produced all the way through to the way it's sold, the way it's distributed. Yeah. And that then helps us basically create happier, healthier, more empowered communities, which sounds strange that a sports ball can do that, but it certainly can, as you've proved yourself. And just as a breakdown, we kind of split it across three areas, so what we call make, play, live. So make, you probably guess, is the manufacturing of the ball. And what we're able to do there is we create jobs for adults from vulnerable job groups. So people who maybe have a disability, they might have never been to school, they might have no formal work experience, and we're able to create full-time jobs where, you know, they have access to the things that we take for granted, like fair wage, pension scheme, healthcare, that kind of thing. And what's great about that is it then empowers them to not only look after themselves, but also their families, their dependents. So that's kind of the production side, and we produce across sub-Saharan Africa at the moment. And then it comes to the kind of, as we've grown, we were like, you know, we have this beautiful product, we're building these fantastic networks with organizations like yourselves. What else can we do? Having talked to our members, it was about, let's give young people access to sports. So that's the play side. So yes, we sell balls, and we need to do that from a sustainability point of view and an income point of view. But then what we do is we utilize our partnerships and our profits to be able to donate sports balls, mainly footballs, every year. And we were really happy to, back in the day, wasn't it? Probably 4 or 5 years ago, so maybe not.
Yeah, I'm going to shout them out. Fossil, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, Fossil, yeah. So that was kind of a great example of a partnership with a brand where we upcycled some old handbags, turned them into
amazing,
slightly biased, but they were beautiful footballs, weren't they?
They were. Some of my teams still rave about them, honestly. Yeah. And I've still got a couple, because I rightly or wrongly, I kept a couple for myself because they were beautiful and they were amazing. So, but they've all gone bar two. They're in my garage. But no, they're fantastic, honestly.
They were great balls, weren't they? And I think so. That's a big part of it, is the play side. So giving young people access to sport, to a good quality football that's going to last. And what's kind of what we're really proud of is, since opening, which is 17 years ago now, and we've been able to give just over 8 million young people access to a donated ball.
Wow.
So that's the kind of the make and the play. So we've got the making of the ball, and then getting young people playing. And then the final kind of strand is what we call live, which is our health side. And this has grown through our partnerships and their advice and their kind of ask, I guess. And that is we linking back into my old work. So training sports coaches to be able to deliver health education. So we mainly do mental health directly through football drills, so curriculums of football drills that focus on different areas within mental health. And they deliver it using an AK football. They deliver it in their school or their youth club or their football club. And we have a network of about 1,200 coaches across the countries in which we work, and they're delivering week in, week out. So yeah, that's kind of thinking about the lifetime of football. So the existence of this ball, it will create a job, it will give a young person access to sport, and it will give a young person access to healthcare and health education.
those statistics that you just mentioned are phenomenal. Honestly, mate. I mean, all power to you, Ben, and the team and your partners to basically create those opportunities for other people. I mean, the impact is absolutely astounding. I mean, it's the ripple effect, isn't it? You know, like what you're talking about in terms of describing that. You know, you'll affect that. You know, your team, your coaches, then those that become privy to that. You know, the guys that they're in front of, then those that they go and tell, go and share an experience. I go and play a game. You know, that they then want to get involved. They tell other people. It just continuously ripples out, doesn't it? And I mean, I don't know what to sort of respond to on that, because other than amazing work, I mean, all power, like I say, it's all credit to you, Ben, for driving that vision. You know, to have those three pillars as a vision and purpose, really stands out, and I'm sure engages a lot of people that want to work with you. I mean, like I say, we're very proud to work with you, and I know I will give a shout out to Dan Wood, because I picked up on that quite recently, because he's a good mate and he's another big supporter of ours, and likewise for what he does. And he goes on about, sort of the purpose, just the power of a football, and I don't know if he's, I'm sure he must have told you, but he says, wherever he goes, travel, I'm sure he's told you, but wherever he goes, he on purpose leaves a football before he jumps on a plane elsewhere, whatever. And I just love that. And he sent me a few WhatsApps and that, and he just, as a random football, like under a bench in a playground. I just absolutely love that kind of message. And that's it's his little footprint, but I love it. And it totally is the case, isn't it?
100%, and it's funny you mentioned that, because so the balls that they're doing Dan's doing at the moment with All You Need Is a Ball, they're alive and kicking balls, the bright orange ones. So it's very kind of what you said. I mean, I'm sure you said this about Street Soccer Foundation. Like it's very much about the people you work with and your partners, and that's the reason that Alive and Kicking is where it is because we've got a fantastic team right across the board. The people who founded it, we have trustees in each country, and I think the kind of key learning I take from it all is like that stuff around like added value. Yeah, I think that's what we've done, try to do more and more is, for example, if we were setting up something near where you are, we wouldn't set up something similar to the Street Soccer Foundation, because that's not adding value. It's just, it's replacing, or it's causing, whereas we would talk to you and be like, okay, how can we collaborate and work together, and we can add value to you and you can add value to us. And that's the person who benefits from that ultimately is, well, it's the end beneficiary. So that might be a young person.
That is so 100% aligned with our view as well. In the fact that like the academy program that about with us, there's all these amazing community teams across these clubs all over the country doing incredible work, and it's heart on sleeve stuff. They care so much about their community, and it's exactly that. We took the view as in, like, I'll just say pick Liverpool, and we'll go to Liverpool, and it's not a case of, well, we'll set up as a street soccer, why the hell wouldn't we talk to Liverpool? You do amazing work. So guys, we've got a specific program that does a specific thing for a specific target group. We're really keen to help. Are you interested? Is there a way to team up together and we help each other out for the benefit as a collaboration of the end user, those that are coming onto the program? And that's the discussions we have. So it's a co-investment, that rather we go in and do our own thing, we go in and open up a dialogue and see what they're doing already. And can we add value to your locker? What you do already so brilliantly well, can we add something to it and do something together? This is exactly what we've done. And obviously it mirrors what you've done. And it's a credit to you. And I'm pleased because clearly it's working for you. And it gives me confidence and encouragement that we're on the sort of right path to sort of follow your lead, Ben, to be honest with you. So thank you for sharing that. I mean, in terms of like kind of coming towards the end of our chat, I mean, I'd love to talk to you forever, but I'm very aware that you are the CEO of Alive and Kicking. You've got to crack on. But like in terms of like next steps for you, I mean, what do you foresee with Alive and Kicking going forward? Immediate plans, routes to sort of developing in other areas, perhaps maybe new partnerships. How does it look for you over the coming year or two?
Yeah, I think we're trying to the start when you were talking about, you may have heard or may not have heard of Alive and Kicking, and that's something we're really trying to push. Because I don't think although we've been around for a long time, not a lot of people know about us, and I think that's something we need to address. So there's a big kind of piece around just building, I guess, brand and awareness of Alive and Kicking in the UK and Europe. So that's why we're trying, we're pushing more ball sales here, because ultimately that leads to more impact. So I think you'll hopefully see us more. We're also releasing, so these are upcycled balls that are fantastic for tough ground. We're also now releasing what we're calling like the grassroots ball, which is perfect for grass and turf. And that's a completely new market for us. So we'll certainly be getting in touch with them, be like, hey, it's a Street Soccer Foundation wants some. But so kind of product innovation is so thinking about how we can develop our footballs. How can we we'll start making rugby ball, or we already make rugby balls, American footballs. So thinking about product innovation, and also around production. So where are we making balls? So we're currently hoping to expand into Uganda, so we can obviously manufacture balls there, but also create more impact. So I think, trying to summarize that, I think the future is very much around innovation and growth of production, which ultimately leads to growth of our impact, if you see what I mean. So going back to that make, play, live, the more balls we sell, the more impact we can make. Yeah, I think hopefully exciting times.
It's incredible. Oh my goodness. I mean, I'll have to do it off live podcast, as it were, but we'll definitely have more conversations, Ben, and things that we got planned as a foundation, and how we can link in with you and start to use more of your footballs and for that shared impact and purpose statement. So no, it's brilliant, and it's I know it's a sort of whistle stop, and it's kind of a brief insight into you as an individual and kind of where you're at and how you've got to where you are. But it's hugely inspirational in just such a short period of time to say, the fact that your words, I mean, you were pretty much kind of mute during your education, found football as a passion, used that to build your confidence and engage with others, to make friends, create friendships. And then that in itself enabled you to think as a pathway of development for yourself, investing in yourself to create opportunities career-wise, giving you that, you clearly worked for you, because then it gave you the confidence to get on a plane to America at 21. And then from then you've kicked on, found the value of what you do. That's generated this kind of CSR and social impact mindset. Then you've gained that from a different perspective, moving into the corporate world, showing that you can work both in the sort of third sector as well as the corporate kind of commercial sector, but have a charitable heart at its place. And now to where you are CEO for Alive and Kicking. I mean, it's a hell of a journey, Ben. And it just, again, it's another valuable discussion with an amazing guy that just tells people you can make things happen for yourself. If you've got that inner belief and core belief of your strengths and purpose and passion, and go after it and not be afraid to sort of say yes to certain opportunities, just give it a go. What is the kind of worst that could happen sort of attitude? Honestly, mate, it's been a privilege. I genuinely mean that, Ben. Honestly, I love talking to you whenever we get a catch up, and thank you for all of your support of us, and likewise know that it's always there with you guys. So again, thank you for your time, mate, today. We'll obviously share this across our socials and all to our communities. If you don't mind, can you sort of let people know as a conclusion how people can get in touch with Alive and Kicking, what your website is, how they might be able to sort of pick up any opportunities to buy some balls, that kind of thing?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you just head over to www.aliveandkicking.org, it's probably the best place to start, and it's got all the information about the organisation, and you can certainly get balls from there as well. And then our handles on social, we are AK UK.
We are AK UK. Perfect. Yeah. I tested you there, didn't I?
I was panicking. I was like, need to know that. But no, thank you as well, Keith. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's always great to chat to you, and I appreciate you giving us the time to talk a bit about our work.
That's amazing, mate. Really appreciate it, Ben. Thank you so much. So that's been Ben Sadler of Alive and Kicking today. I'm Keith Mabbott of the Street Soccer Foundation. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. Really hope you've got something from that. And please do get in touch with Alive and Kicking as an organisation and show your support to the fantastic work that they do. At the very least, if you can, maybe try and buy a football, because it's straight away a talking point. I can guarantee that the very first time we got footballs from Ben, everyone around us was asking questions of where the hell these balls came from. They'd never seen them in their life before. So thank you again, mate. Really good to speak to you.
Pleasure. Thank you.